how do you think about, Gary mentioned and you mentioned it too, Phil, like the all-in-one solution of an HRIS plus an ATS versus the standalone ATS, especially when it comes to, it sounds like what you were just referencing are organizations where they're looking for their first ATS. So to Gary's point, like somebody could be easily enamored with, yes, of course, why wouldn't I want the all-in-one and everything that comes with it? But it also comes at a cost of, okay, well, now you're thinking about implementing really multiple solutions within one platform. So how do you help organizations vet which direction should I go? Is it better for me to go with the HRS with the simple ATS, or is it better for me to go with a full-on ATS and not worry about the HRIS for right now?
And if I can piggyback on that, especially when typically the HRIS platforms are selected by the CFO, and the CFO sees that their HRIS platform has an ATS and says, well, why don't we just use that? Right? We're already using that platform. And it probably goes back to, well, if you've defined the problem appropriately, then you'll be able to, better articulate what the differences are and the impact it would have to the business.
So one of the biggest mistakes that we see when people buy software is they buy it from an existing vendor because they have a prior relationship. So the canonical example of this would be, we use ADP for payroll. So we're going to buy ADP's HRIS, ATS, et cetera. And that was basically the strategy of a lot of these vendors for a really long time, right? We've got you for something. Through acquisition, we're going to add a product and we're just going to kind of cross-sell it into the base. And I think a lot of these companies got away with it for a very long time, even though those products were pretty subpar. And now the tide has turned, I believe. The reputation of a lot of those companies is damaged pretty much, for good, I would say, unless something crazy happens. And so a lot of companies that come to us, a lot of HR teams, probably like 60+% of them are moving off some sort of legacy system where they had, one of the kind of core 5 or 6 vendors, legacy vendors, and they bought too much random stuff from them and they regretted it because it's just not very good software. Everybody, the 3 of us plus anybody listening has used software before and knows that the devil is in the details. And you can check the box and say, yeah, we take in applicants and there's a database and you can leave feedback on them and, collaboratively recruit and all this stuff. And it's like, all right, check the box. Like that's an applicant tracking system. But the reality is at a lot of these all-in-one vendors, there's like a product manager who is drastically under-resourced versus a point solution. And also probably is not like as economically incentivized as an entrepreneur to build the best-in-class solution for a given problem. So if you want an applicant tracking system that is just going to be like good enough, then yeah, you should do your all-in-one because it's going to be simpler, it's probably going to be cheaper, and it perfectly integrates with the rest of your HR tech stack. But if you need all of these like idiosyncratic aspects, if you want, really good automations, if you want a really good career site and candidate nurturing and, lots of different complicated workflows for different types of candidates and, a really robust integrations network, like all the stuff that a best-in-class solution would have, then you got to go out and buy one of those. And so it's really just thinking about those trade-offs. But Gary, to your point, if the problem is, we can't hire the right people, our recruiting teams are not very efficient, then you've answered your question for yourself, right? You know what you need to do. You need to go out and buy an ATS.